Take a seat.
My name is Caroline Casey. I'm from Ireland and I'm a social entrepreneur. I'm the founder of an organisation called Canchi, whose modus operandi is to enhance the relationship between disability and society.
Right, so why are you doing what you're doing? Do you have a personal experience?
The reason this issue is incredibly important to me is I myself am legally blind. I had a hard time coming to terms with my own disability. And the reason was because I didn't like how disability was framed. Because disability is always seen as a problem and something negative. And the work we do is about changing the way people perceive disability so we can understand the ability of people with disabilities.
And why is that so? Is there a personal experience that propelled you forward?
Yeah, I'm myself legally blind, which means that after 3 feet the world is very, very blurry. My own personal story is that when I was born, at 3, my parents decided with usable vision they would not tell me that I couldn't see. And therefore, I went to school thinking that I could see exactly the same as everybody else. And I found out by accident when I was 17 years old, when I went to try and learn how to drive a car, that in fact that I had a condition called ocular albinism, which meant that I would never drive and that I shouldn't be doing a lot of things that I was doing up to then. And that's why I was always very bad at sports and tripping over things and talking to the wrong people and going the wrong places. But at 17 that was too much bad news, and I hid my disability for a very long time until I was 28 years old, when I found myself working for Accenture as a management consultant. And you can only keep up alive for so long, and my sight really deteriorated because I was working far too hard, not asking for help, not wanting to admit that I had a disability, and eventually I had to go see an eye specialist who told me that if I continued to work the way I worked, I would have very little sight at all. So at 28 I made a decision that I would do a childhood dream, and that was to go across India on an elephant. And that began the story of my organisation called Canchi, which is named after my elephant, the elephant that I went across India on. We raised a huge amount of money and we started reframing the way people see disability. So that's how the story began.
So what is the one pressing problem that you think can be solved through social innovation?
Well, for me, social innovation is using innovative or entrepreneurial thinking to create social impact and change for some of the most extraordinary, mind-boggling social problems. And I think because some of those problems are so vast and so complex, we really need innovative thinkers and entrepreneurial thinking. And so it's great to be known as a social entrepreneur, because I do think it requires thinking outside the box, thinking that's going to change paradigms, not just to stick a plaster on something. For me, the greatest social issue that I believe, and this is obviously very personal, is the issue around disability. There are 750 million people in the world with a disability. Disability isn't a Millennium Development Goal. We have no global leadership. We don't have a Bono. We don't have a Nelson Mandela. And also the way disability is framed, it's always framed in a problem. We see what somebody can't do, that there'll always be charity, that they'll always need, that they'll always cost money for society. So if we frame disability and society starts to see that anybody who's different has something to offer or contribute, then we change the way society thinks about disability to enable people to reach their potential, so they therefore can complete the circle and contribute back into society. So for me, in a nutshell, it's to gain the leadership around pushing disability up the global agenda, where we start understanding that disability is just about different ability and a different way people can contribute.
And what would be your advice to any aspiring social entrepreneur?
Well, I think there's not even one piece of advice, but whatever it is that you do, you have to know it's going to be tough, it's going to be hard, but more than anything, you have to see it. You have to see it and believe it. Even believe it when it gets so tough and hard, and never even think of giving up. And have a sense of humour. Have a sense of humour in it. You have to be able to love it and enjoy it, and be able to cry through the nightmares that exist and the rejections that happen. Because you have to remember, if it was so easy, and if the problem was so solvable, somebody else would have done it before you. And the reason that you're here doing it is because somebody hasn't. And you may not succeed all the time, and you'll probably have 10 million failures, but every one of those failures is a step better than it was the last time. And it's constantly reminding yourself that you're there to do something that really will change it. And I just think never give up. Just never give up. Find the friends around you and really believe that you will fix it.
Name one pressing problem in the world that you think can be solved with social innovation.
One pressing problem in the world is the invisibility of the 750 million people with a disability in the world. We have no critical leadership around the disability piece, and I believe with new, innovative, entrepreneurial thinking, we can start to change the way the world sees and thinks about disability so it will behave differently around disability.
And what would you say to an aspiring social entrepreneur or social innovator?
Never give up. If it was so easy to fix a problem in the first place, you wouldn't be needed. Have a sense of humour and surround yourself with people that truly and passionately believe in what you do.
Okay, my name is Rodrigo. I work as a social entrepreneur in Brazil, and the organization I lead develops education programs trying to help public schools to transform their environment so that they can receive any kind of children, especially children with disabilities and children from low-income families.
And why do you do what you do?
Well, actually, when I was 18 years old, I passed through an accident, and that changed my plans. Initially, I wanted to be a doctor, and after this event, I decided to work to help Brazilian society to get better.
And what is it that you do differently from other groups working on the same issue?
Well, we are using basically art, culture and education to transform the schools. So our intention is to deconstruct the vision that teachers have about education and help them to modify their roles as teachers and incentivize them to act as protagonists on the school environment.
And how many people have you engaged, and what is the total impact to date?
Well, we are working in different Brazilian areas. We have trained more than 2,000 people, and we are always giving lectures about our methodology and about our work. So we also try to share our knowledge with other professionals that work with inclusion programs.
Okay. And why is inclusion so important to you?
Well, because I think it's a matter of justice. It's a matter of democracy. We have to change the reality as it is now, because in Brazil there are a lot of children that don't have opportunity to study, which is basic. So I think it's not enough what government is doing. So civil society has to take also part of this transformation process.
Take a seat.